Morning, morning, good 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 morning. Good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Marvel, where authenticity lives and thrives to create a space of growth, healing, and joy. I am your host, Andrea Lawful Sanders, and each day we will cover the topics while learning from each other. Good morning to each and every one of you. It is Monday, cheese and crackers, December 8th, 2025. It is 23 degrees outside, and the high is in the mid to late 30s. I'm wearing some earrings that are made by my daughter, Janelle LaRue. She has a website up, and I'm trying to make sure that oh, look at that. I am working to make sure that you all see what she's created. She's been making me these beautiful earrings for years. I have a whole box full of them now. I wear them on special occasions and not so special occasions because, truthfully, she is my heart. Absolutely my heart. And in this season of us wanting to figure out what we are doing, how we are doing, when we are doing, I truly just want to find the joy in the small things as we move forward. Of course, we have David Alexander Jenkins on. It is Monday, and oh yes, 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 yes. I just got an interview request to interview Morgan Cephas. I'm looking forward to that. I do like the sister, and so just wanted to give her an opportunity to speak to the audience, my audience, as we move forward. Let me do my morning motivation before David jumps on. So I wrote this maybe 2 years ago, probably 2 years ago now, while volunteering for the Team Jamaica Bickle event, the pen relays. So I'm about 20 years in volunteering now. And let me tell you, you want to talk about humbling? The Jamaicans, the Trinidadians, the Grenadians, the older sisters, they take over the kitchen. I am serving, and you better not have no big old ego walking into that kitchen. And you better do what they tell you to do because they're all about washing your hands, serving the people well, etc., etc. But then we have dignitaries that come in from the different islands, and sometimes they walk in with a whole chip on their shoulder. They send people in to bring their food to serve them if they don't get what they think they should get, kind of thing. And this happens everywhere, right? Across the diaspora, across human nature. So on this particular morning, I'm not a fan of people with their egos. I'm just not. So I had to write this piece after dealing with someone whose ego was so massive until I had to walk away and tear through some cloth Jamaican style. My yardies will know what I mean. Please allow me to show you what humility and lack of ego looks like. Friday morning after serving breakfast, and I'm talking hundreds, right? I went out into the common area of the Palestra, huge space at the University of Pennsylvania, and began chatting with a couple of folks. I left briefly to find the ladies' room, and when I returned, a man was sitting in my seat. I ran over to him with a grin on my face and I said, "You're in my seat, sir." He grins in reply, jumps up, dusts off the seat, and hands it back to me. I then offered him a chair to sit beside me, and we were cackling away when Michelle Neal introduced us. Turns out he is a pastor at Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church. I fell out of my seat and said, "I just interviewed you weeks ago." He then looks harder at me and I tell him my name. It was his turn to fall out his seat because he did not recognize me with my hair bonnet on and said, "I'm sitting with a celebrity." We fell out with laughter. He then tells me that the mayoral debate at Enon was one of the best he had seen because I had such control of the room and kept the candidates in line so that people could hear and choose who they would vote for. We looked at each other and I marveled that neither one of us had egos and we were content to simply be volunteer and attendee who were enjoying ourselves. That, dear people, is how it is done. I made a new friend. If you have to walk in every room with your titles and level of importance leading the way, while expecting people to grovel at your mere presence, you have some serious work to do on your self esteem and a crash course in what true leadership is and isn't. Humility opens more doors. Try it. I can't. I have said it so many times that I just don't even know how else to say it, right? I walk into a lot of rooms. So one of the things that you learn is that I have no I don't have any thoughts that people are watching these shows. I don't know who's watching. I don't know, because when I get off the air, I go on about my business and just live my life, right? As I should. I do that every day. So when I walk into rooms and people say, "Oh, I remember when you did this show, da 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 da. I saw a sister last night. Young sister was in her 20s, and she jumped up and she said, oh my god, I need to." I said, "Come on, I was supposed to talk to her. Life got in the way. I said, reach back out to me in the morning. We'll sit down and we'll talk about what is it that you want to talk about." It is intentional that we walk in spaces where we treat people well, no matter how high we think we are, no matter how much money we think we make, no matter where we think we fall in the grand scheme of life. Because at the end of the day, people, we are all just the same. A friend called me while I was making my black cakes. Yes, I made 16 of them, and all but two are gone. So I probably am going to have to bake more. My husband is listening. He's going to be like, "I told you." And so I'm going to take that money and donate it and give it to some folks in Jamaica, and then a couple other folks that I know could use some financial help and support, right? Um, and it's just, it's friend called and she said, she starts telling me that something happened to her spouse and she went to the hospital with him and Jefferson, and the nurse told him to take 2 pills and go home. And as I'm talking to her, I'm just reminded that here's someone who just about everybody knows had to make a phone call up to the very top, and it brought me back to when my husband was in the hospital and I was watching him die in front of me, and the surgeon was so arrogant, and he knows what he's talking about and he doesn't have to do XYZ. And then I wrote the head of the hospital. I didn't know anybody I just wrote a succinct letter about what was going on with my husband. And the next thing I know, all hell broke loose and everybody was showing up in his room and put him back in the ICU and all this other stuff, right? And healthcare is getting to a place where if you don't know somebody who can navigate for you, you are going to be in a hot water, right? I have another friend who is in a situation right now, and because he dared to question the person who was in charge of his case, that person made him wait a whole year, knowing full well that she had a kidney match for him. But she told him, she said, "You're going to learn who is the master here." And so now he's at the end stage of his life because one person was feeling miffed and didn't get him the kidney that he needed. And the other doctors were afraid of this person because they were the head of this thing, right? We have got to be better. We have got to take our egos out of the way. People are going through things. They may not respond to you in the way you think they should, because of this person and their high level of importance. She's allowing my friend to die. And so we are now fighting to make sure that he gets what he needs. But the doctors around this person is very afraid of what this person could do to their career. Do you not know? Do you not know that when you take your titles and your ego and you try to destroy people, woe unto you? You're going to turn around and look and you're going to need help. And the very people who could help you will turn their backs. It is not what you say, is how you make people feel. Right? And so I'm seeing this happen over and over and over again. We go to school, we get these titles, we get these degrees, we get all the things that we think we need to do to be in a particular position. But who are you at your core? I have said this over and over again. And if your core is nasty, and if you don't treat people well, then you end up doing the kinds of things that this woman is doing to my friend, and this other nurse did to my friend, except she knew somebody at the very top and made some phone calls, and now everybody's apologizing all over the place. Her spouse could have died. My spouse could have died, right? So just be mindful that when you're in a space where you're dealing with people in the public eye, that you must operate from a level of humility, not fake humility, because we can sense that, but serious humility, because this is terrible in what is going on with everybody out here. I hope David is awake because I don't see him yet. And usually at 6:30 he's on, you know? So I'm going to see if I can find him. David. Oh, child, it's a lot. It's a lot. And so I had to laugh the other day when I looked around. Let me read some of these morning greetings first. I had to laugh the other day when I looked around and I realized that people, if you no longer had, if you didn't have Amazon Prime, you couldn't watch the NFL. You know, that now the NFL, which would be a free service, quote unquote, for people who watch Channel 3, 610, 6ABC, CBS, Fox, that's where you'd be able to watch the NFL for free. Now you have to be paying for a streaming service in order to watch. We had cable TV, Comcast, Verizon, whatever, and it was guaranteed that if you had cable TV and you were watching the shows that were on it, that you wouldn't have commercials for the most part, right? Unless it was a regular Bravo, whatever. And now we're paying for streaming services, and they're telling us if we don't want to watch the commercials, so you're paying for the streaming service, and if you don't want to watch the commercials, you can pay extra. Do you see how they get us each and every time? Right? So it's just a lot going on for so many of us out here. It's crazy as hell. He's awake because he just read my message. So I'll see him in a couple of seconds. Let's see here. Whoo! Alexandra Jackson says, whoever that nurse is, she's about to learn. Shaking my head. Uh, Laura says, everyone needs a healthcare advocate. The system has people falling in the cracks at a tremendous rate. It's terrible. And then we pay for all of this money to have health insurance. And if you don't have health insurance, they really treat you horribly. Laura says, I know that's right. Team Jamaica Bickle gets the job done. It's a well-oiled machine. Absolutely. They're in their 30th, 32nd year. Monica Adams says, always lead with love. Monica, I have soup for you. Laura, I have soup for you. I have soup for uh David, you gotta let me know what size black cake you have. I have one mini and one small left. So you decide which one you want and let me know. Okay. Good morning, Tiffany. How are you, my darling? Good morning. And I made 16 black cakes yesterday. They're all accounted for, except one small, one mini. And I told my husband, I'm finished baking for this. He looked at me. He was like, don't put that stuff away yet, because more people are going to reach out. So folks have been texting me like, what? You make black cakes? Forgive me, y'all. When my mother died in 2023, I didn't make black cakes for 2 years. Before that, I was making 60, 70, 80, and then donating the money. So that was pretty cool. Let me let David in.
Good
Good
morning.
morning, my darling. Good
Good
morning.
morning. Good morning. How are you?
It must be like summer in your house. Because you have on this short sleeve shirt. How you doing?
Listen, I don't like to be cold. So I've got the fireplaces going and I've got, it's 5 o'clock. I'm up in the morning and I get in the bath and I turn on the fireplaces and I just start.
But David, what is it about men? Because everybody that I talk to, all my friends, the men are always cold.
Is that interesting?
We
I
hot.
don't, my experience is that most of the men that I know want to live in an igloo. I don't have time for that. So I don't understand why. Oh, you should turn your temperature down to 60. 60 what? No, oh no. No, thank you.
I
Mm-mm.
know. Wait, Laura, did you wait? Okay. All right. So then all the cakes are gone. Laura just took the last mini, and David takes the small. Okay. All right. I need to write that down because you know. So I'm gonna bake more. I'm gonna have to bake
You're
more
gonna have to bake
because
more because it's you can't have the people out here like that. Okay, now please
David and
continue.
Laura, I'm writing that down. So, my darling, it is Monday. Damn it. I'm at the place where I don't even know where to start anymore. Your president says that the holidays, it'll be a federal holiday when it's his birthday, but he's taking the holiday, MLK birthday away as a holiday and all the things. All the things. Where do you want to start today?
I I actually feel like we need to focus more on what's happening to us around us.
Mhm.
Um, we need to focus local. I think the answer to a lot of things happening at a federal level is what will we allow to happen at a local level and how will we allow that to expand. So I think that we should be paying attention to what's happening here in Philadelphia.
Mhm.
Um, I was just in city council arguing against a resolution that will allow city council members to um, to remain in their positions while also running for new positions in governance.
Oh, can we discuss? Can we discuss? Because I did a whole survey about it, and it was split evenly. Just about more people said hell to the no, but there are other people who are like, yes, you should stay in office and run for office. Give us your thoughts on this, please, and thank you.
This law that was brought, that creates this need for city council members, because by the way, it doesn't exist in the federal level, it's not at the state level. Many municipalities don't have this, but Philadelphia has this because we experienced a time of great nepotism in the government structure. That is to say that one is supposed to be able to run for office on equal footing with all other citizens.
Hmm.
Um, and and that is impossible to do. Even if you're a person of good moral character, it's impossible to run on equal footing if you have access to all of the wonderful things that you get when you are in the chair. You
Yes.
get a free campaign, if you will, because you
Hmm.
have the power of the entire city government to operate
Hmm.
with. You get access, or rather, you are bombarded with access of lots of lobbyists and other sorts of individuals who now come to you to pass laws while you're still in the chair, and give you financing for your next run. It's just a really sticky, ugly, and horrific place to be. And no one should say yes to that, but all of them did.
Wait, wait, wait. On top of that, they say if they have to quit, that means good people who are already in office leaves, and it takes away the amount of knowledge base that was sitting there where to then work with new people.
I find it
What is
interesting because so many of the people who are there because someone had to resign. So when Sherelle Parker won her mayorship, there were 4 or 5 city council members who had to resign their seats to run. That means that we got Rulendo. That
mm-hmm.
means that we got. In fact, it was the bill was brought forth and put up by Curtis Jones. Um, I believe on behalf of someone else, but Curtis Jones's seat is due to,
Isaiah Thomas? Mm-hmm.
yeah, Isaiah Thomas is who wanted this. But
Mm-hmm.
Curtis Jones, who brought the amendment forward that day, his seat is due to Mayor Nutter resigning to become mayor. And therefore, he was able to become a city council person. He's been a remarkable
Did you
city
say they
councilman.
all voted yes for this to be?
Everybody voted that it pass.
So it now has to come before the people. It
I
has to
actually
come
think it's
before
something
it.
that Sherelle Parker should veto.
Yeah, it has to come before the people in the next election. So the people have gets to decide.
I don't
They
think
pass
so.
it that it's thing that it's something that they want on the uh
No, I thought that it passed. I thought the
mm,
resolution passed so that it would.
mm.
We should check this because the way I
They
understood
can't do
it,
it by themselves. The resolution passed so that they could put it forth to the people to vote. Three times they've done this, and three times the people said hell to the no, no, no.
I hope that
So
people say
let's
no
see what
again.
happens. Yeah, because
With the
the
way that
whole
I read it, there are 2 resolutions that went to the floor and both
uh,
passed. One was a
okay.
resolution, one was an amendment to the resolution. One
Mhm.
basically, here's the second problem. And I really find this to be just as big of a problem because I really do think we have brilliant people on council who do a wonderful job most often. My second problem is that I do not know, because I am well aware of the schedules of many city council members, as I get to operate in and out of that framework often. I don't know how you do your job and run for an office while in the seat. Um, and I think it's different to campaign for your own seat while you're in your own seat, right? That seems like it's an addition to that job. Your office, which is keeping you in your office, is a little different when you're running for reelection than it is when you're running for a completely different role. So if you're running for a state office, if you're running for a federal government level office, if you're running for anything, I find it really challenging that you are going to do as good of a job as you do now,
It's
also
impossible. Let's just call it what it is. It's statistically impossible. I've seen people try to do it. It is impossible to do, right?
So I
And
am greatly bothered by the idea of it. I found it to be one of those things that was like a dog whistle. There was no way in hell that this could possibly be. And
was
I
there
get it.
conversation around this?
No, I was the only person who spoke to it. Um, there was no. no conversation on the floor. I am unaware of a scheduled hearing about it. I understand, and hear me. What I'm asking city council members to do is to choose an option that makes their job harder. Who wants to do that? Nobody, right? Who wants to say, "Oh yeah, no, I want to have to resign in order to move to a different position"? Nobody wants that
I
lack of
think
job
what
security.
frustrates many people, David. So I'm going to give you an example. I'm looking at his name. Malcolm Kenyatta. Is that his name?
Mm,
Who was at the vice president of the Democratic Party right now? Has a state rep seat, was running for auditor general and was running for all these other seats.
mhm.
Folks were concerned about that, but what they were even more concerned about was, as he was running for auditor general or whatever other role he wanted to have, he was fighting the people who were running against him at the state rep position, taking people to court, all sorts of other things. So if you feel like you're going to win this other seat, why are you making life so difficult for people who are now trying to run for the seat that you're sitting in? And I'm just using him as an example because it happens all the time. It's not just him. So are you hedging your bets? Like, what is that? What is that? I
What
have to,
is that?
on behalf of the people, I have to ask that question. What
I will
is
say this: if the thought process is this allows more people to challenge the current mayor in her seat, because I can only imagine as a chess player that the idea is that if more people are able to keep their jobs, there are more people who will run against the current mayor. I need everyone to remember that the current mayor chose to give up her seat to run,
right? And it was a risk.
and it was a risk,
She didn't know.
and
In fact, when she first started running, and they
she
looked
took
at the
one
numbers,
on.
she was almost dead last in the polls. Right? She
So
took
it was a
the risk.
risk, and it's a risk that I think every person needs to take who wants to hold a chair. I honestly, and it's hard, I always speak directly from the chest, right? And
Mhm,
from the heart and from the truth and belief that we are here to protect the people of Philadelphia at all times. That is the job.
mhm, mhm,
And so when a person makes a decision which is obviously in opposition to that role, right? You can't hold public trust and run for something. I know it happens at other levels of government. But we see that it's not working at other levels of government, right? We have a shit show, quite frankly, when it comes to the state and federal level, and so much of it around the running that people
mhm.
are ineffective in their jobs. They can't do their jobs. The reason why Philadelphia can be so effective in its legislator is because we force people to focus either on the job or on the
Or
run,
running, yes, right.
and
And I'm
you can't
also
do both.
and I'm shocked about the people that all of them agreed, because if Sherelle Parker and Derek Green and the others didn't step aside, we wouldn't have all these new people in council right now.
We would not have the
There would
people
have
who
been
voted
no
against this idea.
opportunity for them
It
to
was
get into
almost
council.
like good enough for me, but not for you, right? And I think that's going to reflect really poorly on their records. Good enough for me. I'm glad the door was open for me, but now I'm shutting it because I don't want to. And so I hear it, and I might be wrong on the record, so I don't want to go on the record and say it was everyone, but I think it was everyone in the room. I don't believe I saw any dissension in that, um, and I think it's horrific. I do. It's one of those moments that made me really sad about who was sitting in the chairs and why they were, because I so many of these votes are impassioned votes about what is best for the people of Philadelphia, and quite frankly what is best for the people of Philadelphia is that we have this law which was put into place to stop this type of behavior from happening,
Yeah.
because we had such a rampant um, bit of destruction and nepotism and bad faith acting in governance that we had to create laws to stop it from
Mhm,
happening.
mhm.
There was a reason. It was well thought out. It was well planned. So that is something at the local level people should be paying attention to. People should be alarmed about. I know every city council member who's listening is going to absolutely hate me this morning. I love you all,
It's
but this
okay.
is just
It's a
not a.
part of, Maya Angelou would always say that if you do not practice courage, then all the other virtues make absolutely no sense. And I'm finding more and more people are hiding behind corners saying like, I can't say that, because if you have a authentic relationship with the people that you say you have relationship with, you can quietly, you don't have to publicly say it, but you can quietly say, yo, that's not right.
Do
But we
what's
don't
right.
say it privately or publicly, right? And so we
Yeah.
get
So
afraid of what people may think. People, oh, they're going to stop you from doing X, Y, and Z. Do you not yet know the way
yeah.
God and the universe works? You can't stop anything that God designs for you to have. You may try to create roadblocks, but the lessons always coming that you can't stop what God has designed,
And there's
and it
always a whisper
continues.
before a yell.
There's always a whisper before you,
And
always,
so,
right?
so I whispered in a microphone, so maybe it's a yell. But if you want to see those comments, they're up.
Mhm.
And I think, and I pray that you are correct that this just allows it to go to a vote.
Mhm.
But I fear that
Oh,
this
they
was an
do. They can't. They
amendment.
can't change the home rule charter without the citizens participating in it. So
Yeah.
then the thing is to educate the citizenry around all of this. That's it, right?
So there will be a tiny war, I'm sure. And I do think that there are many qualified people who, should they want to
Mhm.
continue in offices above where they are now, that they absolutely should
Mhm.
be encouraged to do so. But I think they need to be encouraged to do so and move on. Now, I will say that there was one opposition I heard in a lobbyist group, um, and that was that the paycheck stops. And so I actually believe that there should be a slush fund that is available that pays people in the period of running. So yes, you will step aside and give up your role, but we'll pay you the rest of that year. Now, if you lose, you're out of the job.
Right.
If you win, you're still here. You know, you've moved on. But I think that we should pay you your salary. You were duly elected. It was a job you're taking on, and I'd rather pay two people the salary for 1 year than have the amount of nepotism and craziness that will ensue when they have to take money to figure out how to pay their bills in inappropriate ways and make all sorts of promises and concessions against the people of Philadelphia's will. Oh, we've lost sound.
Good.
Can you hear me?
Andrea said, so let's say the people vote to change the charter and remove resign to run. Can we talk about term limits in council? They're not going to be with human beings.
So actually, one of the most brilliant council members, who I absolutely think one day will be mayor of Philadelphia, has put forth this idea of term limits in council. So it's not something that people in council are not speaking about. It is not something, and this person, by the way, who has sat in every seat. I mean, she came in as um, um, an intern, and then worked her way through internship up to being
You're
a
talking
city
about
council.
Catherine Gilmore Richardson. She is the,
And
she is
she's the
the,
bomb
she is everything,
and a bag of chips
everything.
and a
And I
bag of
mean, I've
chips.
been watching her. She's been holding on to her integrity. She's
Absolutely.
been challenging people openly and
Hmm.
privately. She is about, and she knows how the charter works. She knows how the
She
policies
knows
work.
the rules
She
because
knows that
she's
she
been through all
knows.
of it. She's been through all. And what I will say is, she has herself said and pushed for term limits. So I believe that that is a thing. So yes, there should be, and I don't believe that it's a conversation either or. It should be
Mhm.
and term limits, because
Yes.
it's the role, the job is so important. And I think
Mhm.
sometimes we look over how important it is. You are creating the roadmap of the law and setting the tone for how the city will now be impacted in its future for hundreds of years to come, based upon decisions that you make with your pen today. And that cannot be lightly taken.
Right.
And we must be able to hold public trust in the offices and
Mhm.
those who hold the offices. And those who hold the offices need to be accountable to the people that they serve.
Mhm.
And so any law that would create barriers that would make that job less possible to do
Mhm.
should
Mhm.
be removed.
And if you're in the job and it has become the thing where you're just in name only and you're really not researching and you're not asking any questions and you're not holding people to task, why are you there? We're watching. We get in these spaces and we talk about how difficult life has become in this country and how much more difficult it will become, and yet we don't consider the roles we play as leaders and in leadership in continuing to create this ridiculous mediocre pathway where we're just not even doing the work to support the people that put us in office to do what we're supposed to do. I don't know how we're going to navigate this,
We've
but the trust is gone in so many
we've
ways.
we've come to a place where Philadelphia was once this great beacon of light, if you will, and I feel it still can be and should be. Much like New York has shown us recently that it insists on being the beacon of light. This is the way forward.
Mhm.
Um, we sadly take a stance right now, which is to be very quiet and to follow. and
Yeah. And as
to
David
it's almost
says,
as though we want to.
and as David says too, because we want to be invited to the parties. The other David, you know,
We are the
man,
party. We are the party. And I think we need to
absolutely.
remember that we are the party. And if you want to be invited to a party, it's the party in Philadelphia. And I say that we have an opportunity to be courageous where
Mhm.
others are not. We have an opportunity to turn on the light where others sit in darkness. We have an opportunity to speak that truth to power where people don't, because we have a gravitas and a truth in this nation as the first, as the place where things were signed right down the street, right? That we shouldn't forget that we shouldn't shrink away from that we shouldn't go into this place of ambiguity. And if what we're fearful of is the lack of federal funding, lack of state support, lack of you name it, then we need to remember that we have the ability to ask our neighbors for money. I was having a conversation about my own community, which is in part the gay community in Philadelphia. And what people don't realize is that it holds the top 10% of wealth in the city, right? If you name individuals individually who are just extraordinarily rich, you come across the top 10% being often gay men and nor women. Not a community to ignore, a community to ask for support from. We can actually self fund a lot of the things that we need funding in the city if we know how to ask for the funding and the money and how to lean on the things that we need to do to get that going. I think that sometimes we are fearful about being the beacon of light that we are. So I would say that there is an amazing opportunity before us. And in New York, they just made a decision. Mandami was a decision. It
Mhm.
was a
They
decision
did.
made at the local level
They
to
did.
speak to national politics, to speak to the federal level.
Mhm.
And I think Philadelphia has to understand that just like New York City, and if not more, because we have a stronger and more important history, I would say, it is our job and our duty to lead the way.
Yeah. Mm. All right, let's see what else. SEPTA was supposed to go on strike this morning, but Governor Josh
Mm,
Shapiro stepped in. So they're
yes.
having the conversations about that now. So I think the strike has been averted. God bless his soul. Because they were talking about what to do. The school districts were talking about it. Um, Pennsylvania lawmakers are among the highest paid in the United States, and they just got another automatic raise. Bump state lawmakers from salaries from $113,000 per year for rank and file members. A cost of living adjustments bumped state lawmakers. I think they're making less than city council though.
Yeah. They'll talk about that. I was
What
going to say,
is
be
average?
careful.
What is
Be
average city
careful.
council person? What does average
It's
city council person
130,
make?
130, 140, something in there.
So they're going from 113. The average pay for a state lawmaker nationally is $47,904, but that
We have to
includes
be
part time.
we have to also be fair. Most states don't have a cost of living that's anywhere
They
comparable to
don't.
major
And really at
metropolitans.
$113,000 and they have to drive back and forth, either get an apartment or, drive back and forth to where they need to be. There's a lot of wear and tear. They're saying the Commonwealth legislature is full time, convening in Harrisburg throughout the year. This year, there were 75 scheduled session days for House members, with three more on the calendar for later this month. The Senate met for 51 days and has two more scheduled before the year ends. The raises are doled out automatically each year based on consumer price metrics.
So they're going up to 113. Is that right? Is that what
No,
you're
they're at
saying?
113 now.
And where are they going
Average,
to go to?
average. It says, oh no, 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 they're bumping them to $113,000
Are they to 113?
for
Right.
rank and file members. Dang. Can somebody look up, Andre? I know you're watching. Can you look up and tell me what city council, the average cost of city council salary is? What is the average salary is for city council members, please?
I'm going to
And then
put
we'll
my
move on and we'll talk about
yes.
that now.
I'm going to put my
Netflix
ball
is
into the bucket and say it's 134. I think. But I could be wrong.
134.
I
Okay.
think. I think. Let's see. Let's see if I'm right.
Okay.
um, yeah. So I mean, and another reason why the home charter rule is on the table, because again, you're going to give up your job to take a lesser salary, right? It's a risk. Government work is a risk.
Yeah.
This work is not meant to make you
They
rich. It's
get
not
the
meant to pay
salaries
you.
and they get the cars, right? They get a car. Do they get a state car, city car?
In Philadelphia,
Mhm.
you have the right to be driven. I don't know that I would say it's like a car. I mean, if you're in federal government and you work as a senator, you get a driver and a car
Mhm.
that's with you all the time. I think in city governments you have to schedule the driver
Okay.
for official appointments in this and the other. And the driver can take you to and fro for your
Mhm.
business,
Okay.
which is really
Okay.
important. I actually don't want you driving if you're legislating. I think that you present a risk as a driver.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. 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 Tiffany says, "Oh no, no wonder no one wants to leave city council." Woo! David says city council salary is 150 plus, 150K plus.
Well, there we are.
Good morning, Laverne. Good morning. Let's talk a little
So
bit.
I think
Yeah.
that as citizens, we might propose that you do have to resign, but that will pay you $100,000 this year um, as you resign to run, and that's it. We'll give you the 100K. But I do think it's inappropriate um, to do both jobs at once. I don't think that that's really. I mean, if you're running for reelection in your own office, that's different, right? You're not leaving your office to do something
Right.
else. You're actually defending the chair you're actually in. I have no problem
Mhm.
with that. It's
Mhm.
when you choose to go elsewhere and you
Mhm.
think that you're going to do both jobs effectively. I think that's crap.
Yeah. 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 Let's talk a little bit about national and international politics.
We've
uh,
got blowing up boats in the water there. Over, yeah. What's happening is we're scratching and itching and looking for a war, and we know this, right? We know that we're looking for an incident which will allow us to escalate things in America to a point that we
mhm.
could have war, and that way we can declare those powers that
Mhm.
we've been itching to use.
Mhm.
Um, will Venezuela be the place that this happens? Good question. Will the idea of drug trafficking be enough to send America to war? I don't know that the temperature in
The
America
fishermen
is
out there in the boat fishing. Why has the average United States citizen not recognized that yet? And it's
I
not
don't
just
think
in Venezuela. The fishermen across the Caribbean islands are like, "Yo, we are staying close to the shore
right.
because they're watching boats being blown up in the water."
Rona for it's uh, personal. And I what I will say is this. Um, so much I can't say about this, but what I will say about this is it's very clear that the numbers do not support a temperature that wants this nation to go to war. The citizens of America are not at a place where they want to be in any war. And I think the White House is looking at that very closely and understanding that every trick that you try isn't taking the citizens to a boiling point. Like, we're just not willing to get angry enough to go to war. And if you declare war on a nation without the will of the people who are underneath you, you get a very Vietnam like situation. And we've been there, we see what that's like. And we see that the people who exist in America are not as gentle as the people when Vietnam first started, right? So because those people got angry in that process, said this is ridiculous, why are we here? What are we spending our money on? I think now there's a lot less will to take us to such an escalation. I think after 9/11, they had to make up a bunch of stories, which we now know are completely false, about regions in order to go and blow them up. We now
Mhm.
have these documents that there were no weapons of mass destruction anywhere that we were blowing up. They just didn't exist. That there was a very, there was a fraction that we blame 9/11 on may not have anything to do with it. There were testimonies and videos and this, that, and the other where the FBI's first response is those voices are Israeli. Um, we have a lot of information now that suggests that perhaps the government of Israel had a lot to do with that, considering how many policies they took
Why do
out
we
to
keep
ensure those
hearing Israel's
buildings.
name in every part of everything that's going on around the world?
It's not news, right? It's something that we're repeating again because the truth is that it's now coming to the surface. I think the thing about information in the world that we live in today is that you can't hide information very long. It always bubbles up and says something. So I would say to you that we are no strangers to propaganda to go to war, but that when you have an unfavorable president, that using propaganda to go to war it becomes even more dangerous
Yeah.
because it gives the fire that people need to remove a person. Um, so it's a very dangerous game of chess. Um, it could result in the Samson option um, if we're not careful. I think it's premature to have too much conversation on this particular topic. But I will say that we should
I
be
just asked you
mindful
to
and
talk about
thoughtful.
national news. You said they're blowing up both of
Well,
the
yeah,
walls.
listen, you know, my spirit, it just what was, and I'm prayerful
Yeah,
that
yeah.
we are mindful of what this means, and that we don't choose options that would get us into territories that are otherwise very sticky to get out of.
Hmm.
And again, always our answer to how we fix the national level's politics is to fight at the local level first, and to set in mind every single state, municipality, juncture needs to say this is who we are and this is who we're not, and that way the federal government can't do anything about it.
Well, the federal government has been pushing towards states anyway. Let the states make up their minds. This has been going on for years. Let the states make up their mind, recognizing that the more control they have over certain states, the more power they have federally. But that's another story for another day.
Texas
Alexandra
got
says,
those words.
Alexandra says Philadelphia City Council members earn a base salary around 142 to 143 annually as of early 2024, with the council president earning significantly more, around 179 to 195. Right? 195,000. Andrea says council is $165,000 and up. The majority leader makes more and the president makes the most. So, well, if they're starting at 165, according to Andrea, then they're well over $200,000 by the time you get to council president, right? And then
I
Joanne
also
Kemp.
Yeah, I also wonder why we have the ability to hold a seat in a district or when we are the president of council. So I
Mhm.
think Kenyatta Johnson does a really great job in his role. Um, but I do believe that if you're the president pro tem, right, and you are president of the council, you should not then have district responsibilities. I don't think you should be acting
Because
as a
you're
city
managing the
councilman.
council as a whole.
You're managing the whole thing. And there comes another
Mhm.
line for, you know, if you're not a responsible person, great nepotism,
Mhm.
right? Now all of a sudden people come to you to give you lots of funds to do things that are eh,
So hold
question.
on. Joanne Kemp says council need to be required to create a fund for themselves in case they want to run for another office. No one else gets paid to secure their jobs. It's a great point. That's a great point. Andrea says, I will show you where to look to see the salaries. It's public information. Please do. Please
Mhm.
do. Alexandra says, David, what are your thoughts on the Supreme Court of the United States hearing about the 14th Amendment? Oh, God.
I think it's very dangerous. It's in, and you want to talk about a civil war,
Mm.
overturn, overturn things in the 14th Amendment. Um,
So listen,
I wonder if it
let
will
me
not
hold on
be.
before you go there. Let me read this. The 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution was ratified in 1868 following the end of the American Civil War. It grants citizenship to all
Slaves.
persons born or naturalized in the United States and
That's right.
ensures equal protection under the law for all citizens. Key points are the amendment states that anyone born or naturalized in the United States is a citizen. This includes formerly enslaved people, ensuring that they have the same rights as other people. Equal protection. It guarantees that all citizens receive equal protection under the law, meaning that states cannot discriminate against individuals or groups. And three, they have due process. The amendment prohibits states from depriving any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. That means that legal proceedings must be fair and follow established rules. And then, ratified in 1868 during the Reconstruction era, the 14th Amendment was designed to address issues related to former slaves and their rights after the Civil War. It aimed to secure civil rights and legal protections for African Americans. The 14th Amendment has been the basis for many landmark Supreme Court decisions that have expanded civil rights and liberties in the United States, making it one of the most significant amendments in American history. Now, with that backdrop in place, let's talk about the Supreme Court now hearing on the 14th Amendment
The, the
because
thing the thing is that while you might want to hear about immigration separately, when you take the 14th Amendment, you take it as a whole. And And I don't know that the Supreme Court will be willing to argue all of those protections. And I know that the President of the United States and the executive office very much wants to strip down the 14th Amendment to its base. But I think people understand how dangerous that is. I think people believe generally that you're talking about someone other than them. Oh, it's you that has to
Not
go. Oh, it's
us.
your family that has to. It's not me, not me, not us. We're
Mhm,
here. Oh, but you're not. And if we were to
mhm,
reverse the 14th Amendment, quite frankly, we would have nobody as a citizen in this country. You think about that, right? Nobody really was born in the United States of America who did not come from somebody who chose to come here
mhm.
and didn't have the proper paperwork when they first arrived because we didn't have that system,
Right.
right? So
Mhm,
unless you are a Gunquin or from the Susquehanna tribes or this, that, and the other, you don't really belong in this country. You came to this country. Your ancestors came here via force, via charter, via this, via choice.
mhm.
And when we look at the people who are currently sitting in government, and this is a question someone should ask: how many people who are currently sitting in government have a foreign-born spouse? um, and when we look at just at the family dynamics, I mean, you can't get through the White House without having this issue, right? You've got a vice president and a president whose wives are both immigrants. Uh, I All of this conversation, I think it's very tricky and very dangerous. The court recently did chose not to hear the case against marriage rights, and I think that it may choose also to consider not hearing this or consider some legal ramification that says we can't hear this case. I have a hard time. I struggle with believing that the court is going to pick this up and overturn the 14th Amendment. That would be devastating for the country, and for our law in its entirety and for almost all of our protections.
And for
Um,
all the people who are saying, well, you shouldn't, if you're an immigrant and you come here, you shouldn't have birthright citizenship. This is not just people of color that's happening to. There are plenty of Anglo-Saxon white people who are immigrants here, but it's easier to sell that the immigrants are all black and brown folks, right? If
Also,
they
we don't exist without immigrants. We have a landmass which is humongous. I don't think people understand how big the landmass of the North American continent is. We have a humongous landmass which requires people to
Mhm,
operate it. What has created industry, what has created the things that we now call American, are the dreams, hopes, fears, survival, struggle,
mhm,
triumphs of people who at one point belonged to another place. We have this woman in the middle of the harbor with her middle finger in the air, holding up a light that says, "Give me, you're tired, you're hungry, you're poor, you're huddled masses, yearning to be free." And that is because we were seen as this great beacon, a place to come to, right? To come and take rest. Legally, sure, but what does that mean? It's always shifted depending upon who was already here. It used to be legally meant when you got here, you went to some place and tried to become legal. And I think that's a perfectly acceptable way to try to become legal. It meant
mhm,
that you got here and went to Ellis Island. You got here, you went somewhere else. You got where.
mhm.
It didn't mean that you had to get someone to sign your paperwork before you left. Let me tell you, who's going to sign your paperwork before you leave when you're in peril? Nobody. What
Nobody.
government is saying, oh, yes, please leave. Here's your hall pass to go to America. That's not a
Mhm,
thing. So the way that we do this is really quite stupid. The propaganda that we use is, oh, it's the Mexicans. And by the way, dear white people, I have to say it that way. This does nothing to you or for you about black people because black people were brought here against their will for the largest majority of them. And therefore, this immigration thing wouldn't matter anyway because you brought them here as property. So the 14th Amendment is not going to help you get rid of your color problem. In fact, it might actually make your color problem worse.
of course.
So, because the only people who would be completely protected from all of that would be the descendants of slaves,
Yes.
who I'm
Yes.
sure you want to ratify and take back to being 1/8 of a person, to 2/5 or whatever it is. My advice to all listening who might have any finger on this pulse is be very careful. Think that
Mhm.
that's not the hill to die on.
Stop
It will, it,
blindly
this,
spending. Stop trying so hard to prove that you're worth you make enough money that you can live the kind of life that everybody else lives. Think,
uh,
think,
listen, spend what
think.
you will, keep the economy going. If you're in the poorhouse at the end of it, it's because you did it to yourself. But I, from a standpoint of security, national security, risk to the nation, what will this do for people taking to the streets for civil unrest? The 14th Amendment binds all that up. So it's a nuclear option for the United States of America. I suggest that we don't touch it.
And then there's the 22nd Amendment that limits U.S.
Oh,
presidents to 2 elected terms in office, ratified in 1951 in response to Franklin Roosevelt's 4-term
he told you
presidency.
he's staying. He's not going anywhere. He said it several times. He
No
intends to
person
run
shall be
again.
elected to the office of the president more than twice. If a
And he
person
will
has
figure out a way to be not a person. He will declare himself no longer a person. I'm, he's not, I don't see him going anywhere unless actions are taken that would make sure that that was not possible. So I don't see him. I don't see him choosing to not run. He's going to run. He told you he's going to run. He's going to do it. Hell or high water. He wants to stay. I think the good Lord has other plans for him, and we see his health is declining and it's not so great, and there are other things. You know, his body is going to run out before his will does.
Mhm. Essence Allen says, I sure don't hear them saying they want to send us black people back to Africa.
Yet Africa's asking for us back, though. So
Brilliant. Mhm. Laura says, I love Catherine Gilmore Richardson. I have worked with her when she was Blondell's chief of staff. She truly is a person for the people. Core
she's the
values. That's
bomb.
what I'm talking. Them core values. Those core values step up and shine in the midst of all of this. David says, Tiffany says he also said he can't run, but they'll figure out a way. And David said, yep, he's going to run if he can. Yeah, it's a lot going on out here in all of these. We're going to the streets out here.
His option would be to have us at war at the time of a running. And so we do not change presidents during war. And there's an amendment which allows us to keep a president in times of war. Um, that would be the way he'll work through this, and he'll make sure that we are at war as long as it takes to get through the next term or the one after that.
Our
So
president is
um,
not well, though. He says
no,
he's well. So this running of for an extra term, etc., etc. There are MRIs. There's bruising on his hand. There's speculation about what's going on with his health. I find it interesting that in this country, these United States of America, everybody was saying Joe Biden was this and Joe Biden was that, and somebody said they regret telling Joe Biden to not to step down. I forget who it is now. And then there's Kamala Harris on tour, naming names and saying all the
and people
things. And
saying that didn't happen. The response has been really interesting to Kamala Harris's tour. Josh Shapiro, particularly, said these things didn't happen. Gavin Newsom going, girl. Um,
I find it interesting that she chose to do this in this moment, right? As a people have already known that there are certain things that were going on. The fact that so I'm not negating her story. Here's what I'm saying to you. Not negating that she had these experiences. What is concerning to me is that she's choosing to unveil these experiences now in the midst of this crisis that we're in, that we have to stop and refocus on what happened last year. 5 years, maybe 10 years down the road, but someone says she needs to make money because she no longer has a protection.
there's no job. She has no job.
Okay. So, when do we make the decisions? And for instance, there are things that I know regarding her that was told to me about her detail, just things that I know that I would never, ever, ever repeat just based on the fact that she's a sister and, just trying to give her dignity. But she just came out here and was like, well, Josh Shapiro was this and that was that. And Biden didn't listen to me. And I'm like, it sounds like sour grapes. And we know she went through some ish. I'm not negating that in any. Look, I'm a black woman. I understand what that feels like to experience that. I'm just saying the timing is shitty right now. The timing in the middle of
America,
all of this, right? And if you knew you had to write this book
Mm.
And wait, look, God bless you. You're trying to make the money. If you knew you had to write this book in this time, then temper the words that you are using and be more conciliatory so that
I'd like
folks
to
can.
hear some honesty. I'd like to hear some honesty in the political realm. The truth is that America was not going to elect a
Can
woman.
we discuss?
America
They didn't
and
elect a
America was
white woman, Hillary
not.
Rodham Clinton. What did we think was going to
America was
happen?
not going to elect a black woman. Kamala Harris had a strong opportunity to become president of the United States, and it was not through being elected. It was through Joe Biden stepping down.
And
And
folks, wait. Here's
if
the
we were
thing.
going to play chess,
Well, wait. Let's really get into it and discuss it.
mhm,
I thought her pathway was allowing Joe Biden to win because people will elect a white man, right? But even
I
his
think that
own
was
party,
risky.
so when he got in, then and if he decided to step, because you can see he's ill, he's got advanced stage prostate cancer, then she would then become the president of the United States.
You would need
There
to
were
step down for that to
people
happen.
in her own party and in the other party who was like, hell to the no, no, no. So let's destroy Joe. Let's figure out a way to talk about how old and frail he is, right? Let's figure out a way to destroy him so that he would be forced to choose a successor. The men were in the background going, it better not be her, it better not be her, right? I'm not sure how that all panned out,
I
but it was
actually, well,
given
no,
a
I
few
will say to
months.
you, no, I would say to you that there is never a successor outside of Kamala Harris because she held the purse. So the way the law is that if Joe Biden doesn't run, right, then his money goes to her because we've elected them together as a group. So the problem with this idea that there would be a different person is always that no, if it's not Joe Biden, it is Kamala. You would have to primary otherwise. There was no time to do any of that. There was one route forward, and the route forward was for Joe Biden to step down.
Oh, oh, okay. All right. So his thing went out for a minute.
If
I'm
Joe
gonna
Biden
respond.
had,
Hold on 1 second. Hold on, because that's all. Hold on.
uh,
Andrea says, if the story were yours to tell, would you be more tempered? Really? Would you want someone to tell you when it was okay to tell it? Let me say something. Let me say this to you,
yes,
Andrea. Let me say this to you. I am not saying that she shouldn't tell her story. I'm just saying that she's going to tell it now in the middle of this. We are in some unprecedented times. I got a hell of a story. I wrote my story. It'll come. It will come when it comes. We have to think through not just ourselves, especially when we stand in a place of leadership. We have to think about the big collective. Okay, how would this impact the United States? What would come out of this as a direct result of? Yes, it's a story to tell. Yes, it's
where are
her
you?
story. Nobody, no,
That's all very what's the word? Ethereal because that suggests that that's your motivation. But let's take it to a place of deep selfishness. What's your next move? Where are you going next? What do you intend to run for or do? Do you ever want to hold a political office again? Do you want to shoot in the face people who are going to create your next move?
right. That's the other thing because I've seen people do that exactly what you're saying, and they push out and say blah 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 blah, and then every door has been closed to them. We don't do things in a vacuum. We don't. We are not people who can singularly get things done how we want it to get done, etc., etc. There's always almost cuss. There's always a group of chess moves that you have to make if you want to make it through this life. So it's not about her not telling her story. I'm just telling you the timing sucks and people are taking her less seriously at this point. She could have told that damn story and done it in a way where she didn't cut off everybody, right?
What she should have
So,
done is played the game of chess, and the game of chess would have been, if I had been playing the game, would have said to Joe Biden after that speech, when it was clear that Joe Biden had no path forward to
right.
all of America and to his own party. Joe Biden, the best answer for you now, if the Democrats are not going to lose this election, is not to have me run. It's for you to step down. Had he stepped down and she been president for just 2 or 3 days, even, we would have elected her because it would have already happened. The big disaster that we were trying to avoid was having an African American woman and a woman hold the position of President of the United States. If she had become President of the United States, her name would have already hit the history books and it would have been done. The people who voted against her just to have that never happen would have voted for her because it's already done.
Chess, not checkers. Chess, not
But we
checkers.
allowed this ridiculous game, and I will also say the Democrats tend to play games a little bit too
Oh,
fair.
child. Because
Always
let's
reading the
be
rules
clear,
over and
the
over again.
Democrats did not want her to become president either. Let's
The
be
Democrats
clear.
didn't
And
want Joe
she
Biden to be
knew what she
president at
was, and
first.
she knew what she was up against, because while she was vice president, they ripped her to the nth degree,
So what
right?
I know is that her ability to fundraise is impeccable, right? That she raised the most amount of money ever in a campaign in the shortest amount of time she had to do it, right? Front one. Uh, it's not that there was no public support, this and the other, not true. Like there was about fun. Um, Money at times was spent irresponsibly, quite frankly, right? We spent billions and billions of dollars on public concerts and this and the other that we should have spent at McDonald's, making sure that signs were there in Republican
And the people
territories.
were screaming their faces off about not folks not being in their communities talking to them.
Yes,
But the people
absolutely.
who were
But
leading decided that this
all
is
of
what they
that
wanted to
aside,
do.
all of that aside, the road for her presidency was in Joe Biden stepping down. And that's just a very honest truth about where we are in America. That yes, you can be a mayor, you can be Speaker of the House in Pennsylvania, you can hold a governorship, you can be Vice President of the United States, but the push to get Kamala Harris as a non-Caucasian person and a female. Remember, female is big for this demographic of people. They are telling their wives now to stay at home and get into the kitchens and to leave their jobs. Can you imagine that group voting for one of their wives to direct them?
And can we be clear? She most likely won this election. They were oh, Ekoro Moshanda Lama Glory. Let me just stop. They were let me just stop. So given what those of us who are thinking through understand in this moment, chess, not checkers. Chess.
Play
Because
chess.
what these same folks are going to do if she decides to run for office again, oh, see, she came up with the book and she named names and she did, like, yeah, we get it. We understand what's going on, right? We get it. But you can hold on to your integrity. And the folks who know until it's time to. History has always shown, especially in this country and really around the world, that when these horrible things happen, we don't normally hear all of it until such and such a time as this, because we recognize none of us work in a vacuum at all. We all
Boom.
need each other. And so if you're going to do this, you got to play the game and play it in a way that that
Play
that
to
doesn't.
win. Play to win.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's hard to be emotionally there, and she has all a lot of folks support, as she should. I tried to stay out of the fracas because I was like, I'm doing the news, I'm covering da 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 da. But yo, if I was to sit here and tell you one third of what I actually knew, y'all would be like, wait, Andrea, what's going on?
I don't.
Everybody be running
Let me
screaming for the
tell you,
hills.
for everything that you hear David Jenkins say, 99% of it he did not. And I want you to understand that that
And, and
that
and this was she's no regular person. She was somebody running for the highest office of the United States. If Josh
people.
Shapiro runs for office right now and decides that he wants to run for president and he wins, do you think she could come and say to him, blah blah blah? You don't
Josh
know
Shapiro,
what
I mean, if we're very honest, the problem that Josh Shapiro has in running for office at this
he's
point is that
Jewish,
he's
right?
Jewish.
Yeah, yeah.
And and that we have a great disdain for Israel currently, globally, and that we have a hard time separating people's faith from the country of Israel. Now, I
Mhm.
will say to you that that's actually because of Israel. Israel has done a very good marketing job of making everyone believe that if you're Jewish, you're pro-Israel, and that they're inexplicably together. And so, Josh Shapiro's greatest, I mean, he'd be a fantastic president, but the thing that stands in his path for ever being elected currently is that connection. The thing that hurts Gavin Newsom the most is what's going on with people who are impoverished in California. However, I think he can turn that around, and I see him as a front runner currently
Mhm.
for where we're going. And I think
Mhm.
that I think he would have certainly had a place for Kamala Harris in the
Mhm.
Supreme Court or in many other places that I wonder what now is available. So,
Now,
with that,
but let me end this by saying she did practice courage by telling her story her damn way, the way she wanted to, and she was okay with whatever came along with that. Perfect.
and let me
End of
tell you
story.
something. If you are in her position And let's say that you have some intelligence that says things didn't go the way they're supposed to go. There's a lot inside that you have to figure out how to push the release valve on. And so I'm not shocked by the book. I
In
would
real life.
have I would have counseled slightly differently on it.
Hmm. Yeah. I'm not shocked by the book either, but recognizing that there are these powerful folks around. Someone asked, why is it that women in Europe and the Caribbean are leading countries and we can't do it here? Do you want to take a stab at that, or would you like
We know why. We have, I mean, people, you have to understand, dear people, um,
mm,
America has been ruled by ism since
for
its inception, since pre its inception, right? The same body of people that does not believe that people who are other than Caucasian have the right to be considered Americans or should be in this country. It's their country.
Mhm.
Um, Also, absolutely believe that women have a place in society which is nowhere close to the front.
And it's not just a certain group of men, it's a lot of men, right? Which is why Donald Trump got so much votes, from so many votes from the Hispanics,
Please
from the black
remember the
men, from the.
Supreme Court.
Let's think about this.
The Supreme Court's most impactful decision as of today was about women's reproductive rights. It was to force women into, I can't even get into that. That is the most um, important decision of the last several years from the Supreme Court. And I need us to understand that women would have no place at the table in
Mhm.
America had the Civil Rights Act not happened. Because the Civil Rights Act f- gave chips to white women to balance the scale of the new group of black people that were getting ready to get all their rights.
Yeah.
And so in order to create a strength, that wasn't done because we wanted white women to come to work. It was done because, well, if we're going to have this mass, we need to up the number again. So we got to put our women up there too. So women's suffrage movement came along the heels of that,
And
right?
do
That's
we
how we got there.
And do we recognize that women in general, Black women in particular, are either being forced out of their jobs or they're quitting because of the way that, because here, listen, the conversations in the boardrooms and in the offices is, why the hell aren't you home having babies? Why can't we see that this has been a movement for as long as we can remember? And that these men are becoming, because they're saying we're isolated, women are having 6-figure, 7-figure jobs, and we got to be home with the babies and blah, 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 blah. It was never about we're both making an income, let's work together. For some people, and they created a movement that continues to gain steam and power, which is why women are now sitting there going, now what am I supposed to do? Because we didn't pay attention to handwriting that was on the wall and has been on the wall forever and a day. Go sit and have a conversation with Joanna McClinton. Go sit and have a conversation with Morgan Cephas. Have a conversation with Catherine Gilmore Richardson. Have a conversation with Joanne Bell. Have a conversation with any woman that has tried to be a part of business and industry and power. This is no damn joke. And so when we sit and we think, well, they're in our
Oh,
party,
look
so
at what happened in Philadelphia with Sherelle Parker and the stadium. Look at the game of chess they played with the mayor.
So
Uh,
this is not a new thing. We just keep making it an individual thing, but collectively we're in deep water because we've been given way too many rights. So now we got to go sit down and mind our business and do what we're supposed to do and do as we are told. What is that thing with the women wearing the hats called? The show that everybody kept telling me to watch. My friend
right,
Leah.
right. The pink poo poo hat.
No, no,
Um,
no. They had on, what is that show called that everybody watched? It was on HBO when I was
oh, the Handmaid's Tale.
Handmaid's Tale,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And so that's where they want us. And so we have to play in ways and move in ways because we're brilliant, absolutely brilliant. We have learned since the Bible days and before that every time a king made a decision was a brave, brilliant woman behind the scenes going, my Lord, because we had to always submit ourselves, etc., etc. That's where they want to take us back to. So understanding all of that, we have to figure out how do we move forward. We've got to take ourselves out of ourselves, y'all, because we see what it is. These conversations we're having privately, we got to take ourselves out of ourselves and say, how do we move and still maintain power while not looking like we're maintaining power? Because they're coming for us. They've come for us. They're here. Almost yo, I can't even. I need to go to the gym. I can't, because these conversations for me are not only enlightening. It shows that we still believe that we're in this place of
We've
power
never
when these
left
men
that
have been
belief.
telling us forever and a day, we're going to take it away from you. You have to
No, no,
prove
no. No, they've been telling you you don't have it.
that part too. That part too.
You don't have it.
And
So we need to understand that that's a bigger issue in America. The women being in charge is a bigger issue for the alt-right and right of the country than black people being in charge. They would rather have a black man than any female in that office.
any,
And if
any,
you put a black female in that office, oh, you've been asked for too much. I know what you're going through. You need to go sit
right?
down somewhere. This is too much.
And with them having access to what people make, etc., because they've gone through the whole system. Take my Tesla guy, so they know what people are making. They're telling us they're coming for you. They're coming for the black wealth. I remember saying this in November of last year. They're coming. We have made way too much money. We've talked way too much. We've gone over here. We own this. We own that, and we just posted. And the
And the
AI machine
only
has all of that.
answer,
Yeah.
and the only answer is to do more. I need us to remember that in times when people come and affront you and say, I need you to disappear, your job is to show up because showing up evidently is effective. The reason why they're coming is because your showing up is effective. So please do not shrink into the background and pretend that you don't exist anymore. Please show up at the party. It means that you're going to get shot. To my coming. But you got to bring your pistol and come to the party. You got to be at the table. You cannot negotiate from outside of the room of the board. And so I'm sitting here right now. It's really funny you said I'm sitting here around. This is the picture which sits before me. I tell you, I'm always surrounded by people, but this is my ancestor Eli, and you can see his
Mm-hmm.
car in the background, and this is roughly 1880, 1890, somewhere in that period. Eli was the first ancestor outside of slavery. When I look at the figures who stand around me, when I look at portraits like this of ancestors who surround me, I constantly am reminded why it is that I get up in the morning and do what I do. For you, it's many of the Maroons and the people that you carry with me. For me, it's this entire room full of ancestors who encourage me to go outside and be me, 100% me, and nevertheless, they encourage me to speak truth to power. They encourage me to show up for those who cannot show up for themselves and to be a voice for those who have no voice. But they also encourage me that at times when people come to you and tell you that you are too much, that you are diminished, that in fact, what is true is that they are not enough.
Yeah.
And so I think we need to not shrink and
Mm-hmm.
disappear. We need to stand up and say, we're not going anywhere.
Right. Right. Well, listen, to each his own. I've said this over and over again. I do. I have
Listen,
said this over
yes.
and over again. You get to decide what you want to do, right? You get to decide what this looks like. This is the America that we live in now, good, right, bad, wrong, different, whatever it is. And I'm just grateful that we have been having these honest conversations now for a while. Thank you, David. Always a pleasure. The gym awaits me, and I've got to start this day. I got to write a report. So
Listen, and so many things today. I will see you on the other side of the moon.
Feliz Navidad, my brother. Happy
Feliz Navidad.
holidays. We'll talk soon. Are you still doing your giveaway?
Yes, we are still doing the giveaway,
Yeah.
and we are, as I said, this year we are self-funded. The family is doing everything. This time of year is just way too much for many people everywhere, and so we are not taking a dime out of the pockets of other Philadelphians to make this happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just won't do it. So sorry, I've had to send back two checks. So
Well, all
sorry.
right. All
And
right.
and just
All right.
it's a I want you to take care of your families and to put that money to
Mhm.
something that's going to help you. And
Mhm.
when we started this, the ability for other people to donate to it, and financially
Mhm.
specifically. It was because people wanted to participate, and they didn't necessarily want to
Mhm.
go out and put out the cards, but they just wanted to participate some way. I know
Mhm.
that and recognize that we live in a world right now that people are scared about what they're going to have to eat tomorrow, and so I
Mhm.
just refuse to drain anybody of
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
whatever. As big as their
Yeah.
hearts are, we love you, and
Yeah.
maybe there'll be an opportunity in the future. But this, we got it. We got you. We
Thank
got
you,
you.
my brother. Always a pleasure. Next Monday, God willing, and the creek don't rise. This episode of Mornings with Mother is officially over. I am Mother. I'll see you when I see you. Bye, everybody. Bye, darling. Bye bye. Whoo, child. Lord have his mercy. Bye, y'all.